Coming up on the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast.
And I say your 3M morning routine. So if you have 20 minutes, cool. If you have an hour and a half, great. You can fit these 3Ms really in any form that you like. So the 3Ms are mindset, movement, and me time. So mindset is just like something that makes you feel like it gets your mind right. And I think we all have, whether that's like a podcast, whether that's reading, whether that's meditation, whether that's prayer, whether that's kind of a mix of all of those things. Super awesome. Movement could be anything, dancing, dynamic warm up, your full on workout in the morning, whatever, like just get moving, get your body moving. Outside, if possible, is helpful because like the fresh air, and then also getting in like the natural sunlight in your eyes in the morning is really awesome for our circadian rhythms and other functions in our body. And then me time is whatever like makes you feel the most me time. And I say that like kind of chuckling because you have to think like, okay, what makes me feel like, oh, this is just time for myself.
Hello, and welcome to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. I'm Brian Grin, and I'm here to give you actionable tips to get your body back to what it once was 5, 10, even 15 years ago. Each week, I'll give you an in-depth interview with a health expert from around the world to cut through the fluff and get you long-term sustainable results. This week, I interviewed fitness and lifestyle transformational coach and podcast host of the Self-Love and Sweat podcast, Lunden Souza. We discussed the importance of having the right mindset to succeed, making workouts fun, along with overcoming excuses, the importance of self-talk, morning routines, and ways to get energy throughout the day. I really enjoyed my interview with Lunden. I hope you will too. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy the show. All right, welcome to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. My name is Brian Grin, and I have a special guest, Lunden Souza. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I was on Lunden's podcast. She's a podcast host and health coach, Self-Love and Sweat, right?
Yeah, Self-Love and Sweat, the podcast. We talked all about intermittent fasting with you, which was a really awesome topic. So yeah, thanks for being there with me, and thanks for having me here.
Yeah. Well, before we jump into a bunch of different topics, perhaps tell the audience maybe a little bit about your background and how you got into health and wellness.
Yeah, thanks. My name's Lunden Souza. I'm a life coach, an NLP practitioner, fitness and health coach. And yeah, I got started just through my own journey. So I definitely was in a space when it comes to fitness of being kind of that more is more mentality, pushing my limits, working hard all the time. And I realized that that is, a surefire way to, cause hormonal damage, a lot of other issues with sleep and digestion and a lot of things like that. And I realized, okay, I'm looking at fitness as like the end all be all tool to like fix all the things. And there's so many other options like, mindset and nutrition and working in and like relaxation and just like so many different options that we can lean into throughout different phases of our cycle, of our life, different seasons and things like that. And so, yeah, I just really realized, a lot of people were trying to fix including myself, fix the inside by working on the outside. And you can only do that for so long. And you can really, cause a lot of damage to your mindset and also to your body. My hormones were out of whack. I had really bad acne. I just wasn't treating my body well because I didn't realize I had more tools. So now as a coach, I love helping my clients, turn their perspective really into their superpower and stop really looking outside of themselves for all these answers and what diet they should be doing and how they should be working out and all those things. And instead slow down and kind of tune in, which takes time and it takes work to be able to say like, yeah, this is really what my body wants and needs. And I can't be, going hard in the paint all the time. And there is value to the rest. There is value to the recovery and that downtime as well. So that's the coaching that I do. I have one-on-one coaching and also group coaching. And it's what I've been doing. It's what I love for the last about decade. And so, I really started just through my own journey. And when I say working on the rest and recovery and really leaning into the benefits of that, that's something that I'm really working on in my life too. And I love helping people realize they can get in super good shape without going hard in the paint at the gym all the time, without feeling like they have to meal prep and have everything perfect all of the time. And it's been, a really fun process. And then doing the podcast and everything coaching has just been a great outlet for, answering the questions that people ask over and over and over again, and those struggles that we feel like we're so unique in, but a lot of us have the same ones. So I love podcasts and being able to talk about questions and concerns and things that people come to me with, because we're in this together, and we're a lot more similar sometimes than we think. And so, my coaching is very much geared towards fitness, but definitely not without the other end of like working in and that mindset piece and how we talk to ourselves and show up in the world. So yeah.
Excellent. And I love how you talk a lot about mindset and productivity. What are some of the principles that you work with your clients with when it comes to mindset? Because, we always talk about, what should we eat and working out, but like, if mind's not right, then a lot of that's not going to work. And so what type of maybe routines or habits that people could get into to help them sort of get into the right mindset to become a better, version of themselves?
Yeah, definitely. Great question. And it's like, I guess it's become a little bit more popular for people to actually say like, oh, I need mindset work, but that's generally not what people come for. It's like they're trying to work something out, or their things are kind of all over the place. And when they realize, oh, wow, that was such a major piece of the puzzle. I love that, because it really is, there's so much going on in our mind all the time. And, there's a lot happening, I say, between our ears. So the first thing that I love to help my clients become aware of and take control over, step by step, is self-talk. So when it comes to our mindset, it's like we're talking shit to ourselves all the time. We are, telling ourselves, I'm a procrastinator, I'm lazy, I can't do this. Like, even when we don't realize it, we're really talking to ourselves like not nice at all, like not in any way you would talk to a friend or anyone, even an acquaintance. Sometimes I'm like, you wouldn't even, talk crap to the person, standing next to you in line at the store. Like you're really, beating yourself up. And so it could be like limiting beliefs or self, depreciating thoughts. It could even be just like words and labels that we put on ourselves that, like, if we stop to ask ourselves, it's like, we don't really want to be that, but we keep saying like, that's what I am, right? Like I am a procrastinator. I am lazy. A big one for me and a lot of the women I work with is like, I am so busy. And so it's taking one word at a time, one phrase that we are aware now that isn't serving us, flipping it and choosing different word choices and kind of rewiring different pathways. Because I really believe when you can change your words, you can change your world. And so instead of saying busy, I say full and abundant. Like today is a full day, Brian, for real. It is. I have, it's 7:00 in the morning when we're talking today. I have a couple other podcast recordings for other people and myself too. I just shared a story with you today about the dog, my dog, the family that I live with, their dog, and how it just like tore the planner up. So I need to like, get all this dirt and gear and do that. I have, a group meditation that I do in the evening. Like I have a full day when you look at it. But for me, it's kind of like when I say it, I have a full day. I have an abundant day. My schedule is blossoming. Like all of the, I don't know, somewhat annoying words you could say to like describe that is so much better. It's such a better feeling than being like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. Like my day is so crazy busy. Like that just feels more like, I don't know, like the Tasmanian devil, just kind of spinning around with no method, no intention. And so self-talk is a huge one when it comes to mindset. And a lot of people, like, I do this with a lot of my clients. I have them like write down a lot of the things we say to ourselves. And I'm definitely not surprised anymore with the things that we say and how like sometimes we're just like, oh my gosh. But a lot of people have that awareness where they're like, oh my gosh, as I'm writing this, I know I say this to myself, but like, I almost can't believe it. Like that's kind of jacked up, And so it's a great aha activity to be able to like really take a moment to like check yourself and check your speech. And it really does change the way you feel and change the way you show up to a full and abundant schedule versus a busy one trying to get everything all together. So that's one of the keys for mindset is self-talk.
I was just going to,
go ahead. No, go for it.
I was just going to add, I love that you bring up self-talk. I actually, I coach golf and I coach kids, and I talk about self-talk because I don't think it gets talked about with kids enough. And when you're golfing, it's like it's not like other sports where you're like have all these fans cheering and and trying to push you on, or you even have teammates that are with you that are cheering you on. You're by yourself, and it's like you can be your best friend or you could be your worst enemy. And so you have to learn how to sort of talk yourself into having a good round. But so anyways, I think that runs true, like you mentioned, in life and in health and everything else. And a lot of times we don't realize, even in like golf, you'll be like, oh, I'm, in your mind, like I'm shitty, or, like I can't, I can't hit this shot, or, well, no, you got to sort of turn that around, and it's just the small little tweaks that you make, but they can make a big difference. So.
Yeah. And I'm by no means a golfer. My dad is. I'll go with him to the driving range every now and then to hit some balls. And yeah, it's one of those sports where you're like, everyone's super quiet. Nobody's there pumping you up. And like, no matter how hard you try, I can't aggression my way to a better shot, right, which I tried, and I would like miss the ball or go crazy. And my dad would just be like, relax, focus, like just focus on what, the different movements that I showed you. And so I definitely have that visual of how self-talk would be helpful during a golf game. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So, yeah. So you were saying after self-talk, then.
Yeah. So self-love, I feel like that's such a complicated, it's kind of like saying mindset or whatever. And a lot of people will have, various versions of what self-love means to them. But what I often ask my clients is like, what are you doing or how are you feeling when you feel like you're loving yourself the most? What are you doing? What are you experiencing? Where are you? Who are you with? What feels like the most love of self? And I'll have them describe it and get really, descriptive. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now go do more of that. Like go out and do more of what is already helping you feel most love and your best. And sometimes it's challenging and we have to work through some other barriers and roadblocks and things like that. But like, for example, one of the clients I had in one of my group coaching programs, she's a single mom. She is a volunteer in like everything with her church. Like she's super active. She's in the healthcare space. And she had this moment where she was like, oh my gosh, I kept telling you I wanted to just like create more moments for myself, like even just at home. I felt like, I hadn't done that enough for myself. And I just felt like that would be a really great way for me to love on myself. And she's like, I, filled up the bath. I put some essential oils in it. I put some candles. I put a song on my phone that was like really mellow and chill. And she's like, that was so amazing. Like, I can't believe, she's like, I feel like I haven't taken a bath since I was like a baby. Like someone was giving me a bath. And now as an adult, I'm choosing to be in this space. I was in there for 15 minutes. It wasn't like this whole, I didn't have to go to a spa and get a, crazy massage and all these different things and spend a ton of money. Like I could really find that love and that peace and that solace and that kind of, self hug for myself right at home. And so I love, and that really, alters our mindset when we realize like, oh my gosh, I can find pockets in my day to like boost my mood, boost my energy, refocus, get clear, hone in on my purpose and just keep on like fueling the fire, if that makes sense. People get, super creative in the way that they show up for themselves. And I just love bringing that to the table too, and a very, very powerful tool for mindset.
And I was going to add to that, just made me realize an interview that I did, this Dr. Brad Campbell, he's like a local holistic physician, but I asked him at the end, like, what, you hear all this stuff with like longevity and, how can we age gracefully and live longer? And what he said, and I thought it runs true, is like finding something or an activity that like you have fun with, that like almost is like some type of a play mentality. Like when you were like younger and you were a kid, you go rollerblading, or certain things you can't do as you get as an adult. But I think you lose that as you get older. You don't have that play mentality that, okay, I'm going to go have fun doing this. And I think it's important to dial in and find something that for me, it's probably golf, just being outside and doing that, but not everyone plays golf. So I think it's important to find something that, you can have fun with.
Yeah, fun is huge, because fun you're going to keep doing, it's on like people, I don't know if people have I talk to you about like, fitness and workouts and what they think they're expected to do. But I have so many people who have yeah, I want to work out, but I just don't want to run. And you're like, oh, so in your head, you're focusing on not running instead of all the other options of
Yeah.
cool things you can do to be active. And I find for myself, especially like that variety is really cool and important and fun for me. So it's not just any one particular thing. It's like throughout the week, running, biking, doing kickboxing, lifting weights, like just that variety for me is super, super fun. Trying something new sometimes can be really fun. Or like you said, just some sort of play or, being active in a way that you're not, fighting and resisting so much. I think fun is a huge pillar of consistency of what you're actually going to stick with. And so sometimes people, when they just get in that tunnel vision of like, oh, I don't want to run or I don't want to be in the gym, it's
Right.
like, oh, there's so many options and you get to kind of choose. And, as long as you're moving, that's great. And then of course, as you start moving and you start learning about your body and how it's changing and moving and whatever, then I feel like sometimes I'm more inclined to do the stuff that's like not fun, but I know it will be helpful. Like, I don't know, planks and core exercises and the stuff that like, I don't know, sometimes it burns and it's annoying. I don't really want to do it, but I know it's going to be helpful for when I'm running, when I'm biking, and just like my back and just feeling good. So it's like, I think you become more, as you start having fun with movement and start seeing the changes and capabilities in your body, then I think you become more willing to do the thing you might not have wanted to do before. Cause you're like, oh, I know the benefit of it. It takes like 20 minutes and I just need to like, stretch out my hips or do that yoga flow or do that core work. Cause I know it's going to be helpful. But yeah, definitely have fun. And like, I don't know, maybe this is similar for you too. I don't know, with golf, maybe you're always having fun with it, but sometimes the fun stuff is like comes in phases for me. It's like different seasons, what might be fun in summer is different in winter or spring or whatever. So for anyone listening, it's like whatever's fun now. You don't have to be like, stagnant, set in stone. It's like, ask yourself, what's fun today? What's fun this week? What's going on this weekend? What's going on next month? And what can I try or kind of flow into? That's kind of how I am with running as well. Sometimes I'll run a lot. And then sometimes I'll go through phases where I'm not running very much. So
yeah, I was just going to add to that. Yeah, I've known from an early age I didn't love running, so I was like, how can I do some type of activity, cardio, where I can sweat? And I got really involved with like Muay Thai and kickboxing, so I've done that on and off for like 20 years, and I'm bringing it, and it's nice because when you don't have to do it all, like you said, you can switch, you can do it, you don't have to do it all the time, but just because you don't like to run, or even if you don't even like to lift, you can find alternatives. At least start with that. Start with something that maybe you enjoy, whether it's like tennis or pickleball, or people are in the pickleball now. It's like,
oh my gosh, it's a craze here in my neighborhood too. I realized everyone's like on pickleball and pickleball apps, to figure out how they can find players and teams. Oh, wow. It's a thing. I have not tried it yet, but let's see.
It's fun. It's fun. It's like ping pong, but in a bigger court.
Yeah, totally. My uncle is super into it. I just remembered he was like all excited about it. And when we're walking around, he'll be like, oh, a pickleball court would be perfect right there. We were looking at Christmas lights, I remember, over Christmas. And I'm like, man, this is really a thing. But that's cool. People are staying active and having a lot of fun. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I just think that's important. Like and really, it's only one piece of the puzzle. Like you talk about all these different aspects. It really is only one piece. So yeah, I just wanted to add that. But what else, as far as like, I know you talk a lot about it with your on your YouTube channel about like taking ownership. I think excuses come up for a lot of people, and like you talk about self-talk. How can people overcome the excuses that keep just coming back in their lives, as far as, if they want to get healthy, but then they can't sort of, I don't know how to explain it. They can't get over that. They have a tough time overcoming excuses. What do you recommend for them?
Yeah, that's really the name of the game there. I mean, we will talk ourselves out of anything if we let ourselves, or talk ourselves into a reason or an excuse. Complaining and blaming is like the default, and just, and I hear it all the time. It's like, oh, but I'm at the office and it was someone's birthday, so I had to have like 2 slices of cake. Or, I got home and it was like a super long day and my boss was rude and like, da, 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 da. So when I got home, I just like wanted to go to bed and like not do my workout. And there's so much like, oh, because of you or because of that, I acted a certain way or that affected my actions. And I'm like, that is a surefire way to never, be happy or feel like you're in control of your emotions or just anything, because you're always waiting for somebody else's actions to then impact how you're going to show up. And I'm just like, with ownership, it's like, no, 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 no. Like, if that's the story, and that's why, like, how do people realize it is like listening to podcasts, like us sharing stories and situations where it's like, yeah, maybe you heard one of your excuses in what I just said, in the sense that it's the awareness of like, okay, I'm the common denominator. Like in this situation with work, at home, whatever. Another common one is like, I've tried everything and nothing's working. Well, it's like, if nothing's working, you haven't tried everything and you're not, figuring out like really what works best for you. And yes, it might be a longer journey and it might take more tools and more time and whatever, but like ultimately, like it's a me game. It's me versus me, I versus I. I say too, like, look to other people for like motivation, like they're in their lane too. Like, I'm like, yeah, cool. Brian's over there crushing it on his podcast. Yeah. It's like, let's keep going. Like, I'm going to do my thing, keep showing up for me, not like, why is that working for him? Or what's he doing? Should I be doing that too? Should I try that? It's like really, stepping into that ownership space is saying like, I'm the common denominator. I can't control what other people are doing. I can't control what's happening in the environment, but I can choose how I react and respond. And that's really the ultimate thing, and what we work on with my clients one-on-one all the time. It's like, how am I responding to this situation? Okay, is this congruent with who I want to be and how I want to show up? Yes, no, okay, cool. Let's go into this area, and it's like, it's really fun to be able to navigate the space of finding your excuses, looking in that damn mirror and like knocking it down and being like, no, self, you're not going to get in the way of this person I know I can be and I can become. And like it is with the self-talk, or it's like one thing at a time. It's like sometimes people will say they a lot of things. I'm like, no, 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 no. Let's cross out they, more I statements, more I statements. So that is kind of the self-talk, or the way we talk out loud about the world and others, like that internal representation is then choosing words that are more ownership related, and then help us, be more in control of our perspective and our perception and how we react. Because like waiting for the world or someone else to do something different or show up better in order for us to be some type of way is just like such a waste of time and not why we're here, and I think it's easier to interact with people. We have better relationships when we just kind of go about our lives like doing me and taking care of what's good for me. And then like, being an active participant in other people's lives as they're doing that too, and having good relationships with other people that are going to help foster a more ownership kind of related lifestyle. And yeah, overall, just like less complaining and blaming, like put the finger down, point it back at, or point it just back at yourself. Like every time you find yourself, blaming an outside situation, a person, work, whatever, or not lack of resource, whatever, try to figure out how you can flip it to be more in that driver's seat, in that ownership position. And then you have so many more options, which I think people don't realize, but you have a lot more options and you can kind of weigh them out a little bit. And that's really what life coaching is like, let's try it on. Let's try on this situation. Okay, now kind of how does that feel for you? Okay, which decision do you want to make moving forward so that you can get closer to your goals? And there's so many more options when you are in that ownership position.
Yeah, I love that. And also, like you mentioned, surrounding yourself with the right type of people, it just can go a long way. I think when you're younger, it's maybe even more important, because I feel like, I don't know, at least for me, like as I've gotten older, you have like it's family, you have less friends. I feel like, less sort of influences perhaps. Obviously your significant other can make a big influence on you, and you can make a positive influence on them. But yeah, especially like with kids, it's like, I always tell the kids, like, you want to surround yourself with people that you really want to, that make you feel like important and help lead to like healthy habits. So I always find that's like important. Is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you're sharing that with your kids. My dad used to always tell me the 5 most important words are surround yourself with good people. And he told me that from a very young age. And what I've got out of it now as an adult, where I am now is like through every different phase of our life, what's good for us is going to be different. So good doesn't always mean, like in school, it's like good are the kids who are, showing up to school on time, who aren't ditching, who are doing pretty well, who are like, treating their teachers respectfully and not getting like, I don't know, sent outside or suspended. Like, and then as you get older, it's like, okay, in college, it was like, okay, people who are actually going to school and sticking with it and not, delving into, a lot of like, parties and drugs and all that type of thing that we're exposed to then. And I just started, like, he would always tell me it. And I would just kind of reflect through different phases of my life and being like, yeah, sometimes I didn't choose good, I'm not a saint for sure. I didn't choose good people a lot, but I came back to that a lot where I'm like, oh, that's why you found yourself in that predicament or that situation, because look who that was. Like, look who you were hanging around. Look what they do. Look what's important to them. Look at the way they're acting and showing up in the world. Look at their core values, And so that quote, is like, you're the average of the 5 people that you hang around. And so I would also advocate to you, like, I still have obviously my friends, you just don't spend a lot of time with them. So it's like, at least the quote is not your average of the 5 people you spend time with all the time. And I think that there is, your partner and family and people that you find yourself interacting with regularly, which is so important to cultivate a air quotes, whatever that means, like good environment. And then the friends I choose to spend time with every now and then when we get time are definitely good people. And what that means for me now is like people who are ownership oriented, who are growth oriented, who, just have big hearts and love and want to give their gifts to the world and have cool passions that sometimes I'm like, one of my friends is like so into animals and loves animals. And I love dogs and cats and things like that. But she rescued a pigeon last week and she was just like distraught because this pigeon had a broken wing in San Francisco. I'm like, a pigeon in San Francisco pulls at the heartstrings of somebody. Okay, cool. Like, it's not me, but it's my friend. And that's her superpower. And she like met this girl who's in the pigeon society where they rescue them all the time. And it's in like her neighborhood and all this stuff was like showing up for her. And when she was talking about it, I'm like, yeah, those are the type of people I want in my life. I didn't get it. It wasn't my jam, but my friends have their jam and they're showing up for, what I'm doing. And I'm showing up for what they're doing with the utmost love and respect and just wanting each other to be uplifted and like feel supported. And so that's what it means for me now, And so I think that we have to continue to check our squad and check our circle. And
I like that. Check your squad.
Yeah. Check your squad, check your circle. And like, I mean, our friends that circle's supposed to challenge us too. We might feel kind of irked or triggered a little bit. And sometimes I like to see certain situations with friends who I know are, ride or die, who I know are great, who will maybe say something or call me out or call me in, as I like to say. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Or like, that's something I want to work on. So it's like people that are available for that too is super cool. Like friends who like allow you to make mistakes, or you're like, wait, I reacted in a way that was weird. That triggered something in me. And that type of growth that happens there is super helpful. So yeah, check your squad. And, sometimes you have to, trim things away and spend less time with certain people. And it's not easy. So sometimes I've coached this in the past too, which I don't even think I didn't do a bad job at it, but I can do a better job now. Is I would just be like, yeah, cut the toxic people out of your life and la, la, la. Well, it's not easy. And like, sometimes it's
especially if it's family
right next to you at work or family or something. So instead of getting rid of sometimes, which we can sometimes, if it's someone where you're like, oh, we just, meet here and this is not good. We're, it's not a good vibe, not whatever, but you don't have to, what was I going to say? Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. You were talking about, you don't have to necessarily.
Oh, cut them out. Yeah. Yes. But you can, that ownership piece is you can choose how you show up to them. And sometimes there's like mental rehearsal that needs to happen where you're like, okay, I'm going to see this person. I don't want to show up like this. I don't want to engage in this behavior. Let me that's another mindset piece, is like that visualization. Let me like mentally rehearse how I'm going to show up. How would my best self show up? I don't want to get flustered and all, stressed out when I'm around them. And I don't want what they say to impact me as much. So I'm going to do like the groundwork before I show up to them. That's very helpful. But sometimes it's just like, bye. But before I used to be like, these people are toxic and you don't need them in your life and goodbye. And it's like, we're also human. There's emotional components to it. Sometimes it's challenging with challenging friends. So it is work, but it's important work because we need to be mindful of who we're surrounding ourselves with.
Yeah, totally agree. And I was thinking on that point, what type of routines can we get into, shifting a little bit here, that can sort of set us up for success? I'm big into routines, and I know we talked. We're early morning here for you, but you've been up for a while now. What are your morning and evening routines like to set you up for success?
Yeah, I love routines and habits. I feel like they keep me in flow, even on the days when I'm not feeling motivated or not feeling like I'm super consistent. It's just like, this is what I do. And it makes you feel good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I do like to have my time in the morning. I wake up at 5:30 most mornings, sometimes a little before my alarm, and I'll just kind of like stay in bed and just kind of focus on my breath and kind of take a moment. But for the most part, I just really love that quiet time in the morning. I love the time to meditate and to pray and to sit in front of my red light and to journal a little bit and to get on the bike. I have a Peloton in the other room that I really find, supercharges my morning. I'll get on there for like 15 to 20 minutes. I'll fill out some mindset questions that I like to do in the morning and just kind of prepare, not necessarily my to-do list, but like prepare myself physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, to then go in and be like, okay, what are the to-dos, like what actually needs to be done today. So in the morning, I often, or what I coach on, I say your 3M morning routine. So if you have 20 minutes, cool. If you have an hour and a half, great. You can fit these 3Ms really in any form that you like. So the 3Ms are mindset, movement, and me time. So mindset is just like something that makes you feel like it gets your mind right. And I think we
Mm-hmm.
all have, whether that's like a podcast, whether that's reading, whether that's meditation, whether that's prayer, whether that's kind of a mix of all of those things. Super awesome. Movement could be anything, dancing, dynamic warm up, your full on workout in the morning, whatever, like just get moving, get your body moving. Outside, if possible, is helpful because like the fresh air, and then also getting in like the natural sunlight in your eyes in the morning is really awesome for our circadian rhythms and other functions in our body. And then me time is whatever like makes you feel the most me time. And I say that like kind of chuckling because you have to think like, okay, what makes me feel like, oh, this is just time for myself. And often for a lot of the women I work with, it's just like that time in the morning, just like sipping their coffee, like, or their tea, and just things being quiet and slow, or like doing that particular morning thing, but just like in peace. And, or one client, she's like, yeah, it's taking my coffee out to my patio and just like sitting on my chair out there and like grabbing my blanket and just having 10 minutes to like enjoy my tea or my coffee or whatever. So make it your own, and then take the time that you have for your morning and chop it up and say like, okay, I'm going to make 10 minutes for movement, 10 minutes for mindset, 10 minutes for me time. And rock it, show up for it, because it's like the bookends to our morning and I'll talk about evening routine too, but it's like the bookends to our day. And in the morning, I feel like our morning routine should encompass as many of the like dominoes that are going to knock down other dominoes, So it's like when we're moving, we're getting energized, we're getting more focused, clarity. When we're mindset, sometimes I come up with, some awesome things I'll write down to share on social media for future podcast episodes. It's just like, what's going to be like, I'm doing this movement right here, but it's like, what's going to do that in the morning to get the engines running? For those of you listening, I'm just like, I don't know, moving my shoulders and my arms in a way of like generating this like energy and umph. And I think that's super important to do that and to take that time. If not, we just wake up and like roll over, look at our phone, get on our laptop, start working, haven't even like stretched or opened up our hips yet, reached our arms up overhead. Like a lot of people check in with what the world is doing before their feet even hit the ground. So that's actually like a rule of mine. I'm like, you can look at your phone to like turn off your alarm, but no checking messages or anything. I even have some apps in my phone that are part of my morning routine. But like no touching the phone or engaging with that until like feet are on the floor. Like I'll just like sit up in bed, put my feet on the floor, and I'm like, okay, cool. Let's, I'm alive. My feet are on the ground. I'm going to stand up and like, get started into my day. So just having like some of those little rules too are nice. Like, no phone till your feet are on the floor in gratitude. That's what I tell myself. It's just like setting up your little rules to your game so that you can play a game, you can win, but we can't have like no rules and no boundaries and no like core values that we're bringing to the table. So very important. Nighttime. Sleep is super important. I went through a phase where I think like, I don't know, I was team no sleep or wanted to work hard and just like, do the thing that I wasn't really paying attention to sleep that much. And so over the last 5 years or so, I've just been really like prioritizing sleep, like making it super important because our body needs it. It's like you talked about longevity. Of course, it's just like recovery, regeneration of our whole entire body, all of our cells, everything. And so in the evenings, I just try to do things that are going to help me sleep better, which is like not drink alcohol. Unfortunately, I realize that drinking alcohol does not help me sleep. Actually, contrary to the belief, I wake up like in the middle of the night and I don't get good sleep. Taking Epsom salt baths help me get better sleep. I love that. Opening up my window and getting fresh air when the weather permits, and I can do that. Not being on my screens super late, not working super late, getting outside to do like even just like a quick walk, like just taking the dog out for a second, 10 or 15 minutes, just getting out in some fresh air, moving a little bit is helpful. Not eating too late. So just eating, I think I ate dinner last night about 5:30 and then I went to bed about 9:30 or so. So just trying to keep a bigger gap between dinner and going to bed is super helpful. So I share all of those things because those are things we kind of have to figure out for ourselves of what's helping our sleep. And there is, of course, rules of thumb, like no technology and don't eat super heavy, super late, and a lot of things. But until we actually do them and then also do a little bit more, I felt like that's when my sleep was getting really good because I was like, okay, I'm doing a lot of things to support good sleep. And I'm going to, take a bath and I'm going to use some essential oils and I'm going to do some, 2 minutes of breath work in addition. And a lot of that, small little tidbits, compounding effects really sets you up for some good quality sleep. And that for me is what's important about the end of my day is just, not having late caffeine, like all the things after probably like 3 p.m. need to be conducive to just being like a little bit more relaxing, a little bit more like closing the ties for the day. And I know that about myself and that's really helpful. So also keeping a journal like right next to my bed with a pen, just so that way any crazy thoughts that might come out, because I hear that a lot. It's like I go to bed and a lot of things are dancing. I will write, jot things down there just so that I don't forget. And I prefer to have the paper and pen instead of the phone because it's like I don't want to be like always attached to being on my phone, especially when I'm in bed. So that's helpful too. And I think what's most important, and I kind of share like my personal examples, but what's most important is to set up your core values and the person you want to be, and then be like, okay, what's that person do? Okay, where am I going to fit that throughout my schedule and throughout my day? When am I going to, do my workouts? What am I going to do in the morning to set myself up? If I'm a writer or a fitness coach or a mom or whatever, like what is a morning routine that gets you like revved up to do that look like? And actually try it on. I talked about try it on, see, does it fit? Does it feel good? In theory, it's great to say like the 3 a.m. morning routine, and these are the things I'm going to do. But if it doesn't work for you and you're not doing it and you're not being consistent, then it doesn't work for you and you need to try something different, try something else on and see what works best for you. And I think that's really what works best with habits and routines is, trying one thing at a time, seeing if it works, and then letting it become a habit and then introducing that, next little thing there. But I think those are some really good general rules of thumb for both ends of morning and evening. And you're unique, and there are unique tools that will work specifically for you that will help you get from point A to point B. There'll be a certain domino that knocks down all your other dominoes that's unique to you. And so it's kind of up to ownership piece again for you to find it and figure it out. With coaching too. Coaching is very helpful.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. A lot of great tips that we could definitely delve into. One of the ones that you mentioned first and foremost was just making sleep a priority. I think just if you have that sort of mindset from the start, we talked about mindset, that it's a priority, then you can sort of tailor your day around that and find out what works best. Because, excuse me, without quality sleep, a lot of the other things that we talk about with exercise and eating or whatever it is, it won't fall into place. So I think I feel like as you grow up, like you lose sight of it a little bit. Like I think as a kid, you sleep and then you go through this like middle period. Maybe it's like colleges where people are like, oh, you don't need to sleep. And, and then,
Work hard, hustle hard.
yeah, exactly. And then as you get a little bit older, you're like, God, I need to sleep to be productive and to do the things I want to do. I noticed we talk about on your YouTube channel energy boosters, and I thought that would be a fun topic to talk about. Just having a routine, I think can help, right? Obviously, because if you're getting quality sleep, you're going to have good energy throughout the day. What are some of maybe your top energy boosters that people could take away and apply to their lives?
Yeah, great question. So I think that focusing on quality sleep is a huge one, right? A lot of coaches, or not even a lot of coaches, I should say, I've heard before said that like your morning routine starts the night before. So that's super important.
Right.
Another one is I read this book one time my dad recommended to me called The Energy Bus. And it's like a short read. It's actually really awesome. I highly recommend it. It's like a little, just like an easy read. It's fiction, but it's about this bus driver who's driving a bus, and it's telling these different stories of interactions between people, but highlighting like who's on your bus, who is taking your energy, who are you allowing to, your fingers to be pointed at that are taking a lot of your energy and focus and clarity and a lot of those things. So check your bus to make sure that there's no energy leeches there.
Right. The energy sappers that are taking,
And energy sappers. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So that's a great one. A lot of times, and myself included, and I have to be mindful of this because it's a good thing, but in moderation. So like caffeine and coffee, I try to just have my cup of coffee in the morning, which I love and I enjoy. That's like part of my me time, but I really enjoy taking like beet juice. I use this beet powder that I really like. So beets are a great source of nitric oxide, which helps our body pump more blood through our body, like opens up our blood vessels. So it's like more oxygen rich blood is coming through our body. And so I really like that. That gives me a good natural energy, a nice pick me up. I'll sometimes have that with like apple cider vinegar and some fresh lemon and mix that beet juice kind of together and have it like around 1 or 2 o'clock when I'm feeling a little, I don't know, in a little slump. So I think that when we reach for, too much caffeine and things like that, it can be something that, kind of makes us crash or stay up late and interrupts our sleep there. So that's something that I feel like is super helpful for energy. Hydration. I think people underestimate this for energy. We walk around chronically dehydrated and are just like not drinking enough water, and myself included sometimes. So just remembering to stay, adequately hydrated and continuing to give yourself like water, because sometimes, we'll drink like, our coffee drinks or, even like having my beet juice, whatever. It's like I have to remind myself, like, drink water, London, because you're working out, you're staying active. And sometimes I realize like, oh, I have like mental fog, or this feels funny, or I feel like low energy. And really it's just like a matter of making sure we stay hydrated. So a lot of the times it's like back to the basics, it's not like a bunch of these like crazy secrets of energy that I'm like letting out of the bag, Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, okay, go ahead. I'll add on it once you say.
I was just going to say movement is a great one, like going for a walk, dancing, sometimes just standing up. Where I'm at right now, sitting is a standing desk. So sometimes I'll stand up, or even just like walking out of this room, doing some arm circles, reaching for my toes, like just kind of moving through my joints a little bit. Movement can be very, very, energizing. And yesterday was such a great example because I was working on a lot of, a lot of work and a lot of things. And before I knew it, it was like 3 o'clock. I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like hunched over, sitting here, like doing all the things I know I shouldn't be doing. And I just forgot to like set an alarm in my phone, or I was just so in flow. I just, kept going, but I got up, went for a walk, and just like I was like, oh my gosh, this feels so good. And it was the perfect, way to kind of boost my energy to finish a few other things I needed to, and then kind of wind down for the day. So yeah, movement is huge too, but I don't know what you were going to add to that.
Well, I was just going to say, for me and for a lot of my clients, I know we talk about fasting, and people think, oh, if I fast, I'm not going to have energy. But I find, especially once you've been doing it for a while, that food is the biggest like depletion of energy a lot of times. A lot of times people think they need to eat to have energy, but I find that like, especially for me, if I break up my fast around, let's just say 2 o'clock, I like to go to try to stick to a more of a protein fat meal. And
Mhm.
then if I'm going to have carbs, I'll have it towards the end of the day because I find that they sort of, they bring me down a little bit, a sense.
Mhm.
And they might even help with sleep too. Sometimes people like to carb load in the back end of their day just to help with sleep. So I was just saying, for me, I like to do all of my energy tasks or mind tasks when I'm in a fasted state, and I find that I have the most energy.
Yeah, agreed. I love that you brought that up. I know that's your specialty too, but that is a big contributor to energy level, at least from my experience in my life. Because yeah, like you said, being in that fasted state offers a different type of clarity and focus. And
Right.
then also, I'm just not thinking about, because I spent so much time in the fitness industry in the beginning, eating every like 2 to 3 hours. And
Mm.
now I don't have to think about it. And I like to eat like bigger meals. So it's nice because I'll eat like two big meals a day, maybe one snack. And it's nice because I feel like, oh, I'm actually eating substantially. I'm actually like, fueling my body with, it's not like, a little salad or something, or like a small meal, little bites every 3 hours. I did that because I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing until I learned better for me personally, that fasting was a better option. And I didn't realize that's what I was doing. But what you mentioned about having more of like protein and fats and then a heavier carbohydrate meal in the evening is what's been pretty working well for me too. It's
Uh,
usually my first meal is like some sort of scrambled eggs, like with eggs and vegetables and whatever. And maybe I'll have like a corn tortilla or a couple of them. But then for dinner, it's usually something much more heartier with potatoes and rice. Or last night I had lentil pasta. And that feels good too, because it is like a heavier meal. But like I said, I'm not eating super, super late, and my body just kind of gets to relax and come down after fueling there. So I get to kind of rest and digest. So that's something that works for me too. And if anyone listening wants to try that on to see if that works, yeah, it works for me too.
yeah, no, I love that. Well, this was great. I feel like we could keep going. Um, where can people find you, London?
Yeah, nowhere. Just kidding.
Yeah, you're
Every,
everywhere. And I love
every,
I love your name. I'm just curious, what's your background, your heritage?
Okay, so first of all, the name London has nothing to do with background or heritage. And I
Okay.
only say that because when I lived in Austria, they'd be like, is this a Hungarian name? Or like, where are you from? So London just comes from my mom. She was a aerobics instructor. That's how she met my dad, right? Surprise,
Okay.
surprise, that what I do now. And there was a lady who would come to, I hope I'm not butchering the story. There was a lady that would come to the aerobics class that would bring like her daughter there in a like a little car seat, little bassinet thing. And she would just like, the baby would just like sit in the corner, relax, chill, not cry while the rest of the class was doing aerobics. So my mom was like, oh, that daughter, she's so sweet. She's so quiet. She's so, easy. Her name's London. And I wanted to name my daughter that one day.
Uh-huh.
So of course she got the quiet, relaxed daughter, London, that she always wanted. And I'm just being sarcastic because I'm a little bit crazy, but she, just got that name from that. And then she spelt it Lunden just because I guess she wanted to be different. And I like it. I think it's cool. I didn't
Mm.
like it. When I was a kid, like, to be honest, like I don't want to say I like got bullied, but like London Bridge is falling down was like an anthem all the time, or like,
Yeah.
why is your name London? Where'd that come from? So that was kind of annoying. And I remember my dad wanted to name me Amanda or Jessica. And I would come home and be like, why didn't you name me that? Because then I wouldn't get teased. But I'm Portuguese and Italian. That's where my family comes from. But the name is not
Eden.
related to that. It was just what my mom liked.
Yeah, and now it's great because like I feel like, especially as an entrepreneur, right? You try to stick out a little bit because obviously there's a lot in our space, and no one's got that name. So it's good.
Well, and when you said your name too, Brian Grin, when we first talked for my podcast, you're like, Brian Grin, like the smile. And I'll never
Yeah.
forget that. So now it's like Brian Grin, like the smile.
Yeah,
And that's a standout part of your name. But yeah, I mean, I'm everywhere pretty much. We were just talking before this that I need to get better at being on LinkedIn. But other than that, I'm on Instagram and YouTube, Facebook, at Life Like London, LIFELIKE. Lunden. And yeah, my podcast is Self Love and Sweat, the podcast, available everywhere too. And yeah, lifelikelondon.com is my website. There's some free cool stuff. I send out a monthly calendar every month with like a podcast to listen to, a workout to do, a little mindset activity for free. So if you go to my website, you'll find that. And yeah, that's it. Send me a DM. I want to connect.
Awesome. Yeah. London's everywhere. And she's got a lot of great, I know she's got like an 8-week fitness and mindset plan and does one-on-one coaching. So definitely check her out. She's everywhere except LinkedIn, but she's going to work on that. Right.
I know, right? We try to be everywhere, but sometimes
right. You can't be everywhere. You just got to stick to the platforms that you enjoy interacting with. So
yeah, let's see.
She does, and you do a lot of great little like videos and reels and stuff on like working out. So if you need workout tips and stuff, definitely check that out. And thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Enjoy your day.
You too.
Thanks for listening to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. I understand there are millions of other podcasts out there and you've chosen to listen to mine, and I appreciate that. Check out the show notes at briangrin.com for everything that was mentioned in this episode. Feel free to subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend or family member that's looking to get their body back to what it once was. Thanks again and have a great day.